This is the craziest story I have ever covered. We've seen suspensions and player profiles, highlights of the best tournaments and the best holes, but nothing like this. This goes beyond disc golf. Once in a while, disc golf goes beyond the boundaries of the course and we get a story like this. Sometimes it doesn't seem real when you're watching a tournament, these pros seeming like they are invincible. But there are stories where things are not about disc golf. Things happen in the real world that affect the disc golf community. This is one of those stories. For those of you who have been around disc golf for quite a while, you may know this story, but for those of you like me, who have only been a part of the community for the past few years, you may be shocked by what happened. This is the story of Josh Anthon. From prison sentence to white pride tattoos, we're going to cover it all. From being one of the best disc golfers on the pro scene to serving a prison sentence, Josh Anthon fell from grace quite like no other disc golfer has. This story does not fit with disc golf. We see football and basketball pros involved in stuff like this, but the smaller community of disc golf has never had one of its players do something on that scale. Warning, this is much more sensitive content than I've ever covered, so be aware. We've got a lot of details to get through, so let's hop right into it. The story of how a top disc golfer was sent to prison. On November 7th, 2013, in West Sacramento, California, outside of a low-cost liquor store, Michael Ray Anderson was struck by a motorhome and killed. What preceded this event was a manhunt. The driver of the RV was identified as Josh Anthon. As his face was plastered across television screens in the Sacramento area, Anthon was hunted. 2 days later, he would turn himself into the police to face second-degree murder charges. These are the facts. This is what happened. Later we will look at witnesses' statements, but for now I want to establish what occurred without any first-hand accounts. As you will see later, the statements by individuals differ, but what we know for certain is that Josh Anthon was charged for the death of Mr. Anderson and was hunted, then turned himself in 2 days later. Now that we know what happened, who exactly is Josh Anthon? A world-class disc golfer, Josh Anthon popped onto the scene in the early 2000s in California. From there, he began to rise up in the disc golf world and start taking down big events. Most notable, 4-time National Tour winner from 2006 to 2011. In that time frame, he began to compete with the top players on tour. But these wins weren't his biggest moments. Worlds for Anthon would be where he shined, placing second in 3 consecutive world championships. In 2009, he lost in a playoff to Avery Jenkins. In 2010, he lost to Eric McCabe, and finally in 2011, he tied for second with Will Schustrick, but was defeated by Nate Doss by 7 shots. After 2011, his touring seasons seemed to be over. For 2012 and 2013, he only played in 8 events. He wasn't playing any majors or big events like that, just slowly dropping out of the spotlight for disc golf, until 2013, when the motorhome incident occurred. We go back to where Anthon is now in custody, waiting for his trial. These things take time, nothing's going to happen immediately, we all know this, so Anthon makes bail, waiting for the case to take place. This is one of the craziest things I've ever heard in regards to disc golf. While out on bail, from June to October of 2014, Anthon played 5 disc golf events, 3 A tiers and 2 B tiers. Unable to leave the state, all events were held in California. He won every single one of them, becoming what later people would call him as the greatest disc golfer on bail. Undefeated, absolutely insane, winning a little over $5,000 while waiting for his trial. Now we're going to look at 2 first-hand claims of what exactly happened on that night back in November 2013. While Anthon waits for his trial, we will look at what may have occurred on that night. We have 2 articles for that night. 2 witnesses that I could find that spoke out on the incident. Michael Anderson's nephew was there that night, and this is what he had to say during a preliminary hearing for the case. These are the statements combined from what he had to say to the deputy district attorney and the defense attorney. Andreas, his uncle, and 2 of his cousins went to low-cost liquor store 3 times on November 7th, 2013. Each time they purchased sodas and alcohol. The 3rd time they went, they walked from Andreas' residence to West Sacramento and they noticed the RV parked outside the store. At that point during the night, Andreas describes himself as buzzed and said he heard loud music coming from the RV. He said that when he and the 3 others were leaving the liquor store to head home, Anthon, who was shirtless, opened the RV door and talked to them in an upset voice. During his initial testimony, Andreas did not recall what happened moments before his uncle was hit. During the cross-examination, Andreas told the defense attorney David Dratman that when the group left the liquor store on foot, he heard the door slam and the RV start. It was not until he heard the screeching of the tires that he looked back to find the RV driving toward them. By the time I looked up, he said, it was too late. His uncle was the only one of the group that was hit. Still underneath the car, the RV was briefly stuck on the curb and reversed, just enough to get off the curb, rolling off of Anderson's body. The RV then left at a high rate of speed. The other account comes from the daughter of Anderson. These are her claims for the event alongside one statement from her brother. Jamie Frazier said her father and her younger brother were on their way back home when the RV passed by. Her brother told the couple he liked their music and to turn it up. And the dude looked at him and said, F you, and my dad turned around and said, what did you say to my son? And that man threw the motorhome in drive and ran my dad over. He didn't even get a chance to jump out of the way, she said. Her brother says the driver then put the vehicle in reverse before putting it back in drive, running over his dad a total of 3 times. 2 separate accounts for what happened. We have no statement from Anthon about it at all. Multiple articles about the police responding to what happened because of an argument between the occupants of the motorhome and Anderson. Side note from the articles, there was a female in the motorhome as well. She became a person of interest and was later detained, but no charges pressed. In October of 2014, Joshua Anthon would plead no contest to the charges. He would be sentenced to 4 years in prison, 3 years probation. Folsom State Prison would be where Anthon was headed for the next few years. Anthon was out of prison by March of 2017. At least that's the first disc golf event that he played in since 2014, so not quite a full 4-year sentence. Right out of the gate, 2017 would be a very interesting year for Anthon. The Disc Golf Pro Tour had started up by the time he was out of prison, so for the 2017, he played in 2 Pro Tour events. The first one, at the Utah Open, he got 2nd place. Pretty crazy, right out of prison, his game was still there. He would place 11th at the Vibram Open and play a couple national tours pretty well. But the big event would be the 2017 Ledgestone Open. Not on the Pro Tour yet, but still a really big event, battling it out with Macbeth, Wysocki, and Ulibarri. But Anthon would play much better than all 3 players. Winning by 10 shots, Anthon in his first season out of prison would capture a win. 2018, Anthon wouldn't get a win, but he would be incredibly close at a couple events, one of them a major. 2018 World Championships at Vermont would be a very memorable event. 2 shots back of Barsby and tied with Macbeth, Anthon would not be able to keep pace with Barsby. Winning in incredible fashion, Barsby goes down in history. The 4th second-place finish for Anthon at the World Championships. That would be Anthon's last close call at any big events, placing well at a couple events over the next few years, but never capturing another win, either a major national tour or a Pro Tour win. But that would not be the end of the story for Anthon.
Okay, and I mean, obviously, what does it say?
It says White Pride. It says rest in peace, Bug Dog, and at the bottom it says White Pride.
Now, one thing I have not covered was the main sponsorship for Anthon over all of his career. From 2012 to 2013, Anthon would be sponsored by Innova Discs. When Anthon returned to disc golf, he would be sponsored by Innova again, in their own words saying that they, Innova, wanted to ease back into it. They would supply discs and equipment, he just wasn't fully on the team yet. That would soon change in 2020. An old interview with Smashbox TV resurfaced where Anthon was asked about a tattoo he had. In his own words, he said that it was a tribute to his friend who passed away. He goes on to explain why he got the tattoo and the reason behind it.
Yeah, it's something I got when my friend passed away in '99. I was 17 years old.
A lot of pressure was put on Innova for sponsoring a player that had a White Pride tattoo. They came out with a statement, and so did Anthon. Innova basically said they don't support white supremacy groups and any sort of racism, social injustice, and social inequality. They explained why he got the tattoo and that they would continue to support him. They also repeat what Anthon says in his statement, that he would be getting the tattoo covered up. In an interview with Scott Stokely in 2021, quick shout out to Stokely, like nobody was interviewing Anthon at all, asking him any questions. Anyways, Stokely asked Anthon why not just get it covered up, and Anthon said why get it covered up when they already know it's on his body. He goes on to say that he said he was done with Innova and stepped away from them, also saying that Innova said okay as fast as they could. He said he was going to cover it up, and also Innova stated he was going to as well, and he didn't. I imagine that didn't go over well. Also in his interview is the only statement we get from Anthon that I could find about his sentencing. He talks about not wanting to talk about it when some people aren't here to defend themselves, and also doesn't want to bring up heartache for the people involved. He does say, though, that he caught this unfortunate case and had to do some time. The story of Anthon is one of controversy. He's had some great disc golf performances, but they will always be outweighed by his actions off of the course. Thanks for watching, guys. Bit of a different video for this one, but with such an interesting story that involves the disc golf community, I thought I should cover it. Make sure to check out my channel, plenty of videos on there for you guys. Alright, we'll see you next time.